How to be a values-aligned leader. Have you asked yourself that question? I know every one of my clients has, as have I. Before I begin this particular video, 2 clicks. Click on subscribe and click on the bell because you're a business leader who likes to use video for your learning. That way you'll be notified as we bring new videos out for you. I'm Janet Harvey, CEO of Invite Change. And this particular subject is near and dear to my heart because right now we live in a time when we're all needing to make some really tough decisions about where we spend our time, who we spend our time with, and how we do that in a way that we not only survive things that are assigned kind of difficult and challenging, but we find a way to thrive in our lives and to remember the gratitude and love for being alive. So how do you be a values-aligned leader? Oftentimes when I'm starting with an executive, sometimes even with a team that's feeling a little bit fatigued, depleted, in some ways, maybe even a little hopeless or powerless. That's showing up a lot these days as we all navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. It's important to spend a bit of time remembering who we are. You know, values is a topic that we think we all know what it means. And I've found over the time that I've been a coach that it is not well understood. It's almost as if I should know what my values are. Of course I know what my values are, that it's such an important foundation to the integrity of being a human being and in particular being a leader in an organization. So let's define it. Values are intrinsic qualities. They aren't shoulds or ought tos. They're not things that are defined by somebody else. Although the caveat I would make is the first time I work with a leader on clarifying what their values are, they start to realize there are values that they name that aren't theirs. Where did they come from? Well, they came from our family. Our family, whatever form or shape that has for you, absolutely teaches us how to socialize. How do we belong? How do we fit in with our friends? How do we find our way in school? How do we find our way in our first job and on our first team and in our community? And we start to learn how to be with other people and adopt a value for things such as one that's big in my life is generosity. It's a huge value for me. And oh my gosh, when I finally figured out that I can be so overusing the value of generosity that I find myself depleted and sacrificing, that needed a little calibrating. And I realized that the real value for me wasn't generosity as much as contribution. I want to be useful. And in order for me to be useful, I need to be taking care of myself. So now how we see this is values are the basis for making decisions and choices. And when we find ourselves making choices and decisions that are not satisfying to us, they're not creating the relationship quality we want, they're not allowing us to bring our best selves every day, they are often resulting in conflict and drama and politics, and that's just not what we want. 9 times out of 10, a values conflict has arisen. And because we take it so for granted, the opportunity to spend time with a coach exploring what are the values that I'm living right now as I think about the activities I've been engaged in, the people that I'm speaking with, the attitude and the mindset that I brought to those conversations. How is that reflecting a value in me? I was thinking about a leader I was talking to just yesterday who realized that the value of responsibility was fighting mightily with his value of family. There's so much demand on leaders right now, and they are all working very diligently to figure out how to take care of their teams and do the right thing for their customers under very uncertain and difficult circumstances. And yet their family needs them too. There they are in the room next door and being homeschooled, or there they are in the alcove of the kitchen doing their work, in other words, the spouse. And here I am in the only room that has any soundproofing because I'm getting ready to do an office meeting with another 20 people. These are tough decisions to make, this trade-off between responsibility and family. Once it became clear that they were competing with each other, this leader was able to say to himself, there's a yes and here. If we're a little more proactive, if I'm anticipating what everybody's needs are going to be between 12 and 2, we can find a way that everybody can be a little less stressed. I can be both responsible to work and I can leave more space for connection with my family. And that's what needs to change. Both values are important. I need to take them out of conflict with each other, which is causing me to behave terribly with my family or with my colleagues, in favor of proactive anticipation. Ultimately, this leader also recognized that avoidance of conflict was a reflection of wanting harmony. That was a really important value for him. He'd never named harmony as important. But as we started to explore that, he's realizing that's the way he manages and leads, that he's always looking for the opportunity to ensure harmony and the timing of when changes are being announced, or thinking through how to make a decision that is for the best of the most number of people. And for those that it won't be good for, what will be the way to accommodate that? All in service to harmony, which also meant he was spending a whole bunch of time trying to get everything into harmony. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes there's a diminishing return to that. So now this leader is starting to realize that as he looks at every one of his choices and decisions through the lens of what value is being honored or dishonored here, he can more quickly determine what really is the optimal answer. And this is what we mean about being a values-aligned leader. So how to be one is a function of beginning to inventory. If you were to reflect on even the last week, pick out 2 or 3 conversations that were just amazing. You felt wonderful about them. The other person felt wonderful about them. You got something done. You got it done in a way that felt easy and flow. And then look at that and say to yourself, that was honoring the value of collaboration. That was honoring the value of contribution. That was honoring the value of, let's say creativity. And write those words down. Then pick out 2 or 3 conversations that really the opposite experience happened. They were very unsatisfying. Maybe even they felt a little bit like conflict or disappointment or just way too hard to work your way through. Be really specific with the details and ask yourself what values were being dishonored. It might have been mutual respect. It might have been maybe you were wanting to be sure there was a certain amount of control and the other person was being too rebellious. Maybe it was perspective. You wanted people's perspectives to be included and they were being excluded. So everything we do as human beings has a motive that's residing in a value system. And when we can learn to strengthen our reflection skill to identify the value that's honored or dishonored, it will accelerate your decision making and also make it more congruent with who you are as an authentic leader. So this is how you become values aligned. Reflect, identify those values, what's true for you, what brings integrity and authenticity for yourself, and use it as your decision-making rubric. And oh, by the way, once you've learned to do this for yourself, it's easily transferable to your colleagues and everybody on your team. We have a number of additional videos for you on leadership over here on the YouTube channel, and they'll help you strengthen being a values-aligned leader.